Welcome to BrainScratch, the show where we dive into unsolved mysteries. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for spending some time with me here today. Today we have a very special episode. It is sponsored by ID. Starting Memorial Day, Monday, May 25th, check out 9 at 9 on ID. Every night at 9 p.m., dive into another case, from high-profile cases like Jeffrey Epstein and Joe Exotic to lesser-known cases that need your help to find justice. ID is releasing new information in each of these specials, and you won't want to miss a single night. On Wednesday, May 27th at 9 p.m., ID is premiering Disappeared in the Darkness, an ID mystery, which is all about the case we're talking about today, Heather Elvis. We're going to go over the known facts so that you're ready for the new information and insights coming next Wednesday at 9 p.m. on ID. Because this is a sponsored piece, the format of this episode is going to be a little bit different, but as usual, all my sources are in the description box below. I'm always upset when a life is cut short, but there are several aspects to this case that really tug at my heart. You'll see that there's been a tug of war for justice in this case, almost like an arm wrestling match, and something I'm really passionate about, using social media to help with these cases. Well, in this instance, it looks like social media has been doing more harm than good. It's heartbreaking that Heather's family has been treated very poorly by both people on social media and in person, from destruction of property to people telling Heather's father that her sister is next, to unending accusations and some of the worst victim blaming I've ever seen. They have faced adversity from unexpected places while trying to deal with the loss of their loved one and seeking justice in her name. I'm hoping that we can show her father, Terry, her mother, Debbie, her brother, Christopher, and her sister, Morgan, that many of us on social media are here to help, are not here to judge them or Heather, and want to see answers in this case for their family and their community. So what happened to Heather Elvis? It was 2013, a year when Vine was still a thing. We had a terrible tragedy at the Boston Marathon. A man named Edward Snowden told us how the government is keeping a very close eye on all of us, and the Olympic Committee chose Tokyo to hold the 2020 Summer Olympics, which are now planned to happen in 2021. In Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, a popular tourist destination featuring a 60-mile stretch of beach called the Grand Strand, 20-year-old Heather Rochelle Elvis is finding her way in life and in love. Heather, who graduated from St. James High School just 2 years prior, had a passion for makeup and a fun fashion sense. In one instance, she was proudly displaying how to mix a white lace dress with green Vans. Her father stated that Heather loved animals, children, and helping those less fortunate. He tells a story about Heather going on a missionary trip to Costa Rica, where she came across a woman living in a very small house that had a very leaky roof. Heather was so proud to tell her father that they built the woman a new roof. She told him, quote, "The lady cried, and then I cried. I've never used a hammer in my life, but I built her a roof." Heather was working 2 jobs, one at House of Blues in North Myrtle Beach and another at a bar and restaurant called the Tilted Kilt at Broadway at the beach. And she was also studying cosmetology. She was a vibrant social young woman who enjoyed posting on Twitter, Vine, and Instagram, sometimes videos of her singing in her car, sometimes images of her in the nightlife with close friends and coworkers, and sometimes even giving her personal insights, like when she tweeted, "There's 2 things I've learned in life. Number 1, you can't change people. Number 2, people always leave." Or when she tweeted, "It's human nature to be free, and no matter how long you try to be good, you can't keep a bad girl down." Other times, she revealed her deepest desires. "I wish I had someone to cook for all the time. I got a taste for men who are older." Her preference in older men would lead to an interest at work. A repairman named Sidney Moorer would catch her eye. On July 7th, 2013, she tweeted about her desires for, quote, "the guy who builds things at my job." At the time, Sidney was 38 years old. On July 10th, while tweeting with a friend, Heather stated that she had made a special trip to the House of Blues. Sydney will be there tonight, so, I gotta make an appearance. It's not very clear from Heather's tweets if she was aware of 41-year-old Tammy, Sydney's wife of 15 years and mother of their 3 children. What does seem clear is that on July 10th, something happened. She later tweeted, "Baby did a bad, bad thing. I'm in way too deep, but watch me get in deeper." A few weeks later, she tweeted with a friend about the possibility that she may be pregnant, but there was little else about her relationships until September. "There's nothing for me in this town. I need to go somewhere new. Once upon a time, an angel and a devil fell in love. It did not end well." Heather's roommate, Brianna, reported that Sydney's wife, Tammy, did become aware of the relationship and had sent numerous threatening text messages and even graphic sexual images of Sydney and Tammy to Heather. It's reported that in one instance, Tammy forced Sydney to break up with Heather over the phone while Tammy was sitting right next to him. Numerous stories about how Tammy would further control Sydney would eventually come out, including that she took his phone and changed the password so that only she could unlock it, and that he even agreed to be handcuffed when they went to bed at night so he couldn't slip away to see Heather. A few months after the relationship ended, Heather was ready to give love another try. Her life was looking up in one very significant way. She had just been hired as a makeup artist and was scheduled to start her new job soon. It was December 17th, 2013, and with Christmas in the air, Heather went on a first date with a new man. They walked around looking at Christmas lights, and he even taught her to drive stick in the parking lot of the Inlet Square Mall. She sent a picture of her driving stick to her father saying, "I'm a pro." It would be the last known photo of her to be taken. Her date dropped her off back at her apartment at 1:15 a.m. on now December 18th. She called her roommate Brianna, who was away visiting family, and told her how good the date was. A short time later, she called Brianna again, but was emotionally distraught. She told her that Sydney had called, saying he was no longer with his wife and that he missed her. Brianna tried to convince Heather to not go see him, just wait until the morning to figure things out, and Heather appeared to agree to that. 1:45 a.m. is the last time we know exactly where Heather was. Her phone would be active for several more hours and show that she didn't stay at home. The cell phone activity would stop around 4 a.m. and never resume. On December 19th, Heather's car was found at Peachtree Boat Landing when a passerby noticed a suspicious car that was parked improperly and called police. The popular kayak and fishing spot is a 20-minute drive from Heather's apartment and is known to be extremely dark at night. Police notified her father, who had spare keys. They opened the vehicle. No sign of Heather, no purse, no keys, no cell phone. Police would begin searching the local area and initiated a full missing persons investigation, but would ultimately not be able to locate her. Her date from the night of her disappearance was also investigated, and he was cleared. Heather still hasn't been found to this day, the assumption being that she's no longer with us. Police would even wind up filing murder charges. Investigators found evidence that Sydney Moore likely met up with Heather that night, including phone calls between the two, footage showing that his truck went to the same boat landing as her vehicle and drove away from it. Moore initially denied that he spoke to her, but then admitted to speaking with her twice that night when he was presented with proof of one of the calls. 4 months later, Sydney and his wife Tammy would be charged with murder, kidnapping, obstruction of justice, and indecent exposure. Apparently, as police were processing the case, they found photos of the Moorers in public places performing actions that should be kept private. The Moorers claimed those photos were proof of an alibi, proving that they were busy during the time of Heather's disappearance. Charges were stacking against them, and they were lashing out online, creating a divisive community that would attack and disparage the Elvis family. There's another very important aspect to all this. Before Heather's disappearance, co-workers of hers noted that she was gaining weight, particularly that her bra size for her work uniforms was increasing dramatically. On the night she disappeared, Sydney was spotted in surveillance footage from a local Walmart buying a pregnancy test and a cigar just after 1 a.m. Another clip of surveillance tape showed Sydney making a call to Heather's phone from a local gas station at 1:35 a.m. They spoke for about 4 minutes. This is likely the call that Heather told her roommate about just a few minutes later. Court records would provide some better insights into the timeline following that call. At 2:29 a.m., Heather's phone tried calling the payphone back. There was no answer. At 3:16 a.m., her phone is still showing that it's at her home, and it calls Sydney's cell. No answer. It tries again a minute later, and there is another 4-minute conversation. That conversation seems to prompt Heather's phone to leave her apartment and drive to the boat landing. Her phone, and I assume her car, arrive at the landing at 3:38 a.m. Her phone tries to call Sydney's several times with no answer. At 3:41 a.m., her phone stops sending data. Video found and later confirmed by experts to match Sydney Moorer's truck shows it going from his home to the boat landing around 3:39 a.m. and returning at 3:45 a.m. Investigators did search the Moorer home and a camper that they own. Nothing was found. The murder charges were dropped in 2016. Tammy's obstruction of justice charge and the indecent exposure charges were also dropped. Sydney was tried for kidnapping, but it ended in a mistrial when a few jury members didn't agree with the majority. Conspiracy of kidnapping charges were filed in 2017 against both Sydney and Tammy, and also that same year, Sydney would be convicted and sentenced to 10 years in prison for the obstruction of justice charges, which were primarily centered on the fact that he initially lied to police about the phone calls from the gas station until they showed him the video proof. In 2018, Tammy Moorer was convicted of kidnapping Heather Elvis and sentenced to 30 years in prison. In 2019, Sydney was also convicted of kidnapping and sentenced to 30 years. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours in Sydney's case. Members of the jury said that information about the Moorers extensively cleaning their truck soon after her disappearance was a key factor, as well as information that they had learned about the rags that were used to clean the truck being burned right after they washed the vehicle. The Moorers both still claim that they are innocent. According to state law, they have 1 year from sentencing to disclose the location of the body to get a sentence reduction. Tammy's time to do so has passed, but Sydney still has that option available until September of 2020. Though we have 2 people in prison, this mystery is far from over. The big questions on my mind are what happened between the phone call at 1:35 a.m. and when Heather's phone makes the next call at 2:29. Where is the actual crime scene? Is the crime scene the truck? Most importantly, where is Heather Elvis? In a Facebook post, Heather's father, Terry, stated, "I once was different. I once could understand. I once could live life and smile. But then it happened. You vanished. My life was turned upside down. I still do not know where to turn to. Suddenly everything changed. Still, through it all, one thing remains constant. Heather, my dear sweet child, no matter how long it takes, no matter the cost or the sacrifice, I, your father, and the rest of your family and your friends will never give up hope. We will never give up faith, and we will never stop looking for you till we bring you home." If you have information that can help bring Heather home, please use the contact details in the description box below. There are many people in Heather's circle of family and friends that are waiting and deserve the chance to honor her life and bring her to a respectable resting place. On today's case, I've tried to stay focused on the facts of her disappearance, but there's a lot more on the social media front, in-person harassment of both the Elvis family and the Moorers, people arrested for hindering the investigation, and even reports of shots being fired. We're going to dive even deeper with ID on Wednesday night at 9 p.m., but how about a little sneak peek right here, right now?
He said, "Pop the trunk." He was thinking the worst, just like I was. So I put the key in and turned it and raised it. Put a flashlight in it.
The full 2-hour special follows the aftermath of the disappearance and probable murder of Heather Elvis, with extensive archive footage and bombshell testimony from one of the defendants. This installment of the ID Mystery franchise explores the alternative theories and the hidden facts behind the question, what happened to Heather Elvis? You can also join the official ID Facebook watch party and interact with other viewers live. A link for that is in the description box below. Remember, you can chat with me live during the airing on Twitter. Just follow @LordenArts. And remember, if you're on Central Time, the show starts at 8 p.m. on Wednesday, May 27th, 9 p.m. Pacific Eastern. Let's see if we can all work together with ID to find Heather Elvis. To her friends and her family, we are so sorry for your loss, and we are waiting with you for the answers to arrive and to bring Heather home. To honor Heather and her father's story about the roof that Heather built, I made a donation to Habitat for Humanity in Heather's name. Please consider joining me by clicking that link in the description box below and making a donation. A big thank you to my supporters for helping me help others with donations just like this one. If you'd like to learn more about me and help support the channel, please visit www.lordenarts.com. If you're not doing anything tomorrow night, please join me live here at 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, 9 Eastern for one of the final episodes of True Crime Game Time. We're shattering our donation goals for Feeding America, and we only have 2 episodes left. See a different side of your favorite true crime hosts live tomorrow night. You don't want to miss it. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share today's video to help raise exposure to Heather's case and help her family find answers. Thank you to ID for sponsoring today's episode and also for producing this new special. I really can't wait to see it. I hope you guys will join me. Have a great day, and we'll see you again soon right here on the Lord and Arts channel.